Good morning Year 10. Thank you to those that have finished their assessment for yesterday. I'm going to mark those today and I'll put the feedback video out tomorrow for probability. Today we're going to move on to a really short topic and we're going to cover it before Friday, before they get to the half-term break. We've done a lot of work on graphs this year, so it's just a quick little recap, and then it's two different types of graphs that we've not necessarily seen before. So I'm going to cover two graphs today, one new type of graph tomorrow and one new type of graph on Friday. So going to start today with our linear and quadratic graphs. I'm going to do this in two videos, linear first, quadratic second. I'm going to post the things on Google Classroom, the questions. Please do the graphs, 3 of each, show me the pictures so that I can mark them, and then we'll move on to the other types of graphs on Thursday and Friday. So nothing to print, but I will put some squared paper onto Google Classroom in case you haven't got space in your maths book. If you need a maths book, please let me know. I've got 2 or 3 that I've got to deliver on Thursday once I've been into school. So if you're a person that needs another maths book, please let me know and I'll make sure that's done. So the first one we're going to start with a linear graph, which remember means that it's just something x, so 3x plus 2 or 2x plus 3, there's no power on the x. And the graph I'm going to do today is 3x minus 2. Now remember, for our graphs there's kind of 4 things that have got to go on. The first one is my table of values. So I'm going to draw out my table of values, and unless I say otherwise today, all the way through, your table of values is going to go from minus 3 to 3. So minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we're going to work out our y values. So the first bit we're looking at is making sure that we've got our table of values complete and therefore ready to use. So I'm going to use either a calculator, or if I'm happy to do this in my head, if you need a calculator, feel free to get one out. Remember, on our calculator button, we're not going to use the squared button at any point, certainly not on this graph because there's no square, but even on our quadratics, because that's where a calculator is going to make a mistake. I'm going to start with the easiest value. I'm going to start with this one here. 3 times 0 is 0, then I'm taking away 2. 3 times 1 for the next one is 3, take away 2 gives me 1. And I should be starting to see a pattern here already. 3 times 2 is 6, take away 2 gives us 4, and I can see that they're going up in 3s, which means this one is going down in 3s. So I've completed my table of values. Now in the exam normally, that would be worth 2 marks. The next bit I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on drawing my graph. So the next thing I need is consistent axes. Now we've talked about this a lot this year. It just means that our gaps are the same. Then we're going to plot our points. Then we're going to draw in our line. Okay, so the next 3 steps all happen at the same time. So I've got to think about my axes. Okay, I've got to make sure that my x goes from minus 3 to 3, and my y goes all the way down to minus 11 and up to 7. So I'm going to have to think carefully about the axes that I use. So remember, this should be in pencil, and it should be taking a page of space. That's the idea, that you're taking a page of space up when you're doing this. I'm just going to focus on my graph because you've got your table of values already. Okay, so just have to move the camera a second. So I get my axes. I'm going to make sure I'm using all of my page. Okay, and so my x-axis goes across, and for mine I'm going to have a gap of 4 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. Do the same going backwards. 2, 3, 4 squares. Okay, so I've got my x values in. Now y, I've got to go up to 7 and down to minus 11. So I'm going to do 1 on every square. So I'm just going to go up in 2s, and each square is worth 2. Go a little bit further than I need to at the top. Same at the bottom. So not only have I drawn my axes up here for where mark, I've also made sure they're consistent, so my gaps on my y-axis are the same, my gaps on my x-axis are the same. Now I can pick my points. So I'm going to start with the easiest point to begin with. So I've got 0, minus 2. So I'm going across 0, down 2, across 1, up 1, across 2, up 4, across 3, up 7. I carry on plotting my points. 1 minus 5, 2 minus 8, and 3 minus 11. Just going to come down so you can see where I'm going to. So minus 3 minus 11. And if if I plotted these right, I should end up with a nice straight line. Okay, as you can see, I have got a nice straight line. If you do this in pen, remember I wouldn't mark it. Got to be done in pencil. I want to always draw the line on as well. Y equals 3x minus 2. So not only have I plotted my points, remember you can pick up marks even if you've got something wrong in your table of values there. You just got to plot your points. I'm drawing my line. Got a nice straight line and I've labelled it. If it wasn't straight, it means I've made a mistake. So linear graphs, there's going to be 3 to do on Google Classroom. Please watch the second video all about quadratics.